ago. We've been traveling since January of 2003, started in Monticello, and so we've made it here to Hamilton. And it's been a great reception here so far, so thank you very much. Lots to do and see. We have our exhibit tent over here, replicas of the keelboat, the dugout, and the pirogues. We are joined by our federal partners, the Bureau of Land Management with their little white tent, the U.S. Forest Service over there, the National Guard back behind us with their camouflage tent. Hope you can find that. So anyway, please walk around and take it all in and enjoy yourselves and enjoy the fair. The Tent of Many Voices, this tent was a place designed to bring in different people of professional backgrounds and cultures to share with us their knowledge and wisdom as it relates directly and sometimes indirectly with the Lewis and Clark expedition. And so for this hour, I'd like to welcome Mary Jane Charlo. She is the Native Adventures Manager and member of the Salish and Kootenai tribe, and so I'm going to let her tell you more about the Native Adventures program, and she's going to be talking about Lewis and Clark animals. So let's welcome Mary Jane to our stage.
Good afternoon. I work at the People Center. I don't know if you know what that is. It's the Cultural Visitor Center for the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes on the Flathead Reservation, which is north of Missoula. Native Adventures is a tourism program for the tribes, and that's what I do. I schedule tours and set up trips for large groups and small groups. And it's pretty much wide open depending on the person, on what they want to do and how long they want to stay. What I'm going to do today is give the names in Salish of these animals. Hi, Mary. Give the names of the animals in Salish and then do the sign language for them. Okay, I've been learning the sign language for about 3-4 years since I finished a class with Johnny Arlee, one of our cultural teachers up on the reservation. I took a cultural leadership class with him for 2 years. It was a 2-year class, and it was teaching about the culture and the history through language, okay, through the Salish language. One of the ways that he taught us the language and different words and how to speak and stuff, I'm not fluent by any means. One of the ways was he taught sign language while he spoke the Salish. So you were able to comprehend more what he was saying without the English kind of like being stuck in the middle there. So that's where I started learning about the animals. My granddaughter, who's 11 years old, we just finished doing the Explore the Big Sky in Great Falls, and she worked with me for 5 days straight, 7 hours a day, doing this. Okay, she was supposed to come today, but her cousin from Minnesota showed up. She hadn't seen her cousin all summer, and it was her cousin's birthday today, so she ditched out on me. So I'll do this by myself. Okay, so we'll just start from this end. Oh, let's get this one down here. I don't have all of the puppets, and I don't have all of the sign language for them, but most of them I do. When you're speaking sign language, all of this... Hi, R. Hey, here's my cousin. There's all the sign language takes part right in between your waist and your neck. This is the hand that's kind of like your base. You use it for measuring, and you use it for this hand to do the action on. You know, so right in between here and here, unless it's something specifically where you would use like today, like that, or this afternoon. So like this hand, you'd use this hand on it, going like evening and morning, like this, okay? So I'll start with the signs here. Okay, this one is the black bear, and Slamke, and Slamke. Okay, the sign for that black bear is his little round ears. That's what it is. Okay, that. And here we have a little black bear, right? Okay, the sign for that one is little black bear. Okay, this one is Mehuya. Mehuya. What is it? Yeah, some participation here. Okay, the sign for raccoon. I'm gonna take my, I can see better if I put this over my glasses. This is a sign for Mahuya, his banded eyes. And what do you think it is for little Mahuya? Right, little Mahuya. Okay. This one is the grizzly bear, Semchechen. We have a sound in our language that comes from your throat. It's written as an X in the international alphabet. Semchechen, Semchechen. Okay, can you say? It's just expelling air from your throat. Semchechen, Semchechen. Okay, the sign for the grizzly bear is two signs. It could be this one, because they mark their territory, scratching trees, or this. Semchechen. Okay, this one is the one I have a hard time remembering all of them. Okay. We don't have the adult deer, the bucks, and we don't have the adult does, we have the little deer, so that just starts me out on on the blacktail or the mule deer. The buck is pueh. Pueh for mule deer, okay. How many of you hunt? Okay. You know the difference between a mule deer and a whitetail. Okay, mule deer's horns spread out. They spread. So this is a sign for the male blacktail. Pueh. Pueh. The male whitetail, Swale. Got that X in there again, a W sound. Swale. Swale is the whitetail, curved forward. Okay, the black-tailed doe is Sturza. Big ears. Sturza. The white-tailed doe is Tsuulich. Because when they turn around, they run, they're flagging their tail, a danger. Okay, the elk, we don't have an elk, but the bull elk is Teshetz. And that's just like a big, like this. Teshetz, and the cow is Sneh. Real easy to remember. Okay. Don't have the sign language for this, but everybody knows what this is anyways. Okay. This is Chestea. Chestea. Everybody knows what this one is. This one has all of our animals, and all of our animals, they all have stories for all of them. And in our creation stories, animals came before people, which is, when I was working with a lot of kids, and I always like to tell them, our creation stories parallel with Christianity, you know. Animals came first, right? Okay? And people always say, trying to say, well, Lewis and Clark followed old Indian trails. You know, our elders say, well, actually, they were animal trails. The animals knew the quickest and easiest routes to get somewhere. You know, they didn't go over the highest mountain and all the way down the deepest valleys. You know, they were smarter than that. So actually, Lewis and Clark followed animal trails. And this little animal here has human traits. You know, like when somebody is nervous and they start to fidget, you know, their foot's going, or their cups are going like this. Like this. Okay, same thing this one does too. When it starts fidgeting, I think you've been there too long. When you notice that, when his little feet start going up and down, that's when you know you should have been gone. Okay. Everybody knows a sign for this one? Kwai kwai. What's the sign for this? Tatanka. Yeah, I got it back there. Tatanka. Remember? Universal sign with Indians, Tatanka. Okay, this one here is what? A horse. Good, you're so smart. Okay, this one is a hard one. Sinchalsaska. Sinchalsaska. Okay, sign for that's very easy. You got this hand to do the movement on. This is the horse. That. And I have a story about this one. I don't know what the sign language is for. The name for this one is quick, Jeanette. Okay, the story with this little animal is that there was a young man who was considered slow. You know, like this story teaches people about every little thing, every person, no matter how seemingly unimportant, has a place and a reason to be there. So the story about this little animal starts with a young man who was considered slow. You know, he couldn't keep up with the rest of the young men, and he couldn't run and play with them, hunt, ride horses, or whatever. And so he was always left behind, and he spent a lot of time alone. So one day while he was out alone, and he kind of wandered back, and he realized everybody in the camp had left. All the camps were gone. And he had no idea where they went, you know. And then he could hear someone crying, like sobbing, and someone was crying like their heart was broken. He wandered down through the trees, and there was this teepee. He went inside the teepee, and he peeked in the door, and what he seen looked like, with the back to him, was like an old woman. And she was crying her heart out. And he asked her, "Grandmother, why are you crying?" You know, and he asked her, "Is there something I can do for you?" And she says, "My children, they're gone." She said, I kept them in our house in the chief's pillow. You know, and so they're all gone. And he says, "Well, we can follow them. You know, it's easy to follow them. We'll follow the trail." And the old ladies wanted him just to go get the children. So he took off, he followed the trail, and as he walked along, you know, they could pretty easy follow because of travois and dragging the pole, horses, footprints, all kinds of different ways to follow the trail. And when he found them, it was getting towards nighttime and it was getting dark, and he found the chief's teepee. And he went into it, you know, because remember, like, he wasn't like right on the ball with everything. So this is something you don't do if the door's closed. You know, you don't just walk into a teepee. If there's a door closed on it, it means that, you know, it's private, or, you know, you're supposed to let them know you're there. So he opened the door and he walked in, and he was standing over there looking at the chief, and the chief was laying there. He was sleeping. The chief, you know, when someone's looking at you, especially if you're sleeping, you're going to wake up, you know. And he woke up and he looked at this young man who was standing there looking over him, and he's going, "What do you want?" And the young man said, "Can I dig in your pillow?" And the chief goes, "Well, sure, go ahead. There's nothing in there." And so the young man dug inside the pillow, and he found the babies, and they were in like a little nest. And he started leaving. The chief asked him, "Did you find what you wanted?" He goes, "Yes, I did." And he went all the way back, and he found the grandmother. And he told her, "Grandmother, I found your children." And she was so happy, you know, and she had tears coming down. She was so joyful. And he goes, "Here they are." He goes, "I don't know if they're all there because I didn't know how many you had, you know." And she's so happy, and she counts them all, and she goes, "They're all here." And she said, "For this, I'll give you a great reward." You know, and what she told him, what she gave him, the gift that she gave him a great ability. All the young men, whenever he went out on raiding party, hunting party, or whatever, wanted to go with him. They wanted to accompany him. And the reason for that was the little mouse gave him the power to go in places and not be seen, and to leave the same way. So that's the one of the story about the mouse. Do you like it? Okay, everybody is all just really listening. Okay. Okay, this one is messed up. Okay. My, what big teeth you have. Okay. What is it? Okay, it's a wolf. Okay, this is easy. And Tsietsen. When you say the word cats, that's on the end, cat. Okay, and Tsietsen. That's the sound that's in this word. And Tsietsen is the wolf. Okay, let me think I remember the... Oh, yeah. Okay. This is a sign for wolf. Okay. You change it slightly to, it changes to hunter. All right. Okay, and this is the wolf's little brother, coyote. Okay, we call him Cinchilla. Cinchilla to us is a real important person in our cultural, in our like historical stories, our creation stories and everything. In the beginning, I can't tell coyote stories because we're not supposed to tell them in the summer months until after the first snowfall, and stop talking about them after the first thunder. But in our creation stories, a long time before people were even here, there were spirits, you know, and people might think of them as God or whatever, you know, but there were spirits out there, and they created animals, and God, who we call God, or Kulusutan, or whatever people call, every culture has a name for God, all right? But the spirits decided that they were going to have people. So they created the animals first. And they told these animals, we're creating you and we're putting you on earth because man is coming and he's going to be born naked and he's not going to know anything. He's not going to take care of himself and he's not going to know anything. So you're going to be put on the earth to help him. Okay, how do these animals help us, all right? Everybody always heard stories about people going out seeking visions, you know, fasting and praying for 4 days or however days, you know, and they get a vision, and some people says it's delirium, you know, and whatever, you know. But, you know, I believe in my traditional ways, and I believe, you know, we had our ways way before, you know, a lot of other things came along. And I believe in them, and one of the ways, this also will teach you about something else that we do, drumming and singing, okay? Dancing and drumming and singing are very important in our culture. You know, we still carry that on today in powwows. All right, we dance and we sing like how, one question I like to ask kids is, how many of you read the Bible? Okay, how many of you have read the Bible? Okay, quite a few. Okay, I've read the Bible. I was on Fireboard Grand Christian door-to-door evangelism at one time. Okay, I don't do it anymore. But in the Old Testament, it talked about David dancing before the Lord. He's dancing before the Lord naked. You know, what was he doing? He was praising God, wasn't he? Okay, you can draw that similarity with our dancing and our singing. Okay, those songs are given to us by spirits. When somebody gets a song, you know, like you're thinking of when they go seek a vision, they seek counsel, and they're given a song. Song makers and singers are very special. That's communicating between this world and that world. Okay, people say, we got a song, oh, who's your helper? Okay, a number of animals could be the helper. They received a song. Their helper could be from the wind or from the... I have a very close friend, her song comes from the sound of melting ice, you know, water. So there's a lot of different things, you know. So with this little animal, in the beginning of creation, he was known as trickster. He's very important. And who is he? You know, when you think about it and the analogies drawn, you know, he's us. He's the foolish person who's always done the things that he wished he didn't do, you know. You know, that's who this guy is. And other times he's so smart, you know, and he is cunning. Most of the time it doesn't end up in a good way because that's who he is, you know. But that's just an explanation of songs and animals, trying to draw that, kind of give you an idea about singing and dancing and connection between animals. All animals have different traits. For instance, like this here animal here, spelka, turtle. Okay, I have a daughter that just really loves turtles. She's 22 years old. On her dance outfit, she has all kinds of different little turtles that she's received during the years. On her belt, I made her a turtle bag. And in the middle of it, it has a heart. And I told her the reason I made her that bag is because this animal stands for wisdom, longevity, and strength. Okay, no matter what happens, you heard about the race between the hare and the turtle. You just keep trying and you don't give up. Okay, and so on that bag on her back was that turtle, and there was a heart on there because a turtle has a very strong heart. You can try to kill it, and they say his heart will just keep beating and beating and beating. And also, because I love her, I've also put a heart on it. So there's a lot of different reasons. People make things for, their relatives or someone they care for. And you'll see, goes, oh, that looks kind of crazy. I wonder what that is for, But there's usually a good reason for it. So this is Spilka. And the sign for him is this. And his little head coming in and out. Right? And for some reason, I can't remember the name for snake, but this is a simple for rattlesnake. There's something else too, like with sign language. If you want to ask a question, it's simply depending on the circumstances. For instance, if I was sitting in this chair, Mary and I were sitting in this chair, and we knew everybody that was in the room. Somebody walks in that's a stranger, and we see that person walk in together, and I might go like this to her. That means, so what? Who? Who is it? Or if you're buying something, this is like talking for buying. Okay, if you're buying something and you really like it, and you go, which? How much? See, so this is always the question. Or you might see somebody, I might see you walk in and get happy to see you, but you're over there, and I go, and go, how are you? You go, good. Yeah. Okay. This one here, scaleo. Scaleo. El, scaleo. 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 What is it? Okay. He's got little teeth. Okay. Do we know what that is? Okay, sign language for that. Put your hand out. Okay, why? Right, when he gets alarmed, he slaps the water with his tail, dives. They all dive down underwater to go into the house. Okay, this is a frog. I just learned this one because I didn't know the name of this. Was a very good sign for this one. This has a sound in it called barred L. Okay. Put your tongue behind your front teeth and blow air out the sides. Kids can do it easy if you tell them, go. they can do it pretty okay. So this one is Shlem Shlama. Shlem Shlama. Shlem Shlama. Shlem Shlama. Frog. Okay. Sign language for frog. That's easy. It's good. Okay. And this one, Sneena. Sneena. Real easy one. These big eyes. Okay. This is an interesting sign with this one. This is not very easy to say. Man's best friend. Okay. A long time ago, our dog's man's best friend, I don't think we're that loyal because they were wolves. They were kind of like tamed. They hung around, you fed them, And the dogs were called Nkokosami. Nkokosami. Q sound comes out of your throat. K, k, k. K. Nkokosami. Okay, that was dog. Sign for dog. The travois we used to tie onto the dog before we had horses. So that's sign for dog. We were really glad to get horses. You know, if you packed your stuff on one of these and he got a smell up his nose that he wanted to investigate, he was gone. So we were really glad to get horses. Okay. This one here. Mountain lion. Scutismia. Scutismia. Okay, this one here. That's a little one. Okay. Little Scutismia. Okay, what's the sign for mountain lion? Like a cat nose. Okay, you make the cat nose, and then the eye is watching, because he's always watching. Okay, and we don't have the bobcat, but the sign for bobcat is also the same sign for house cat. Just push your nose up a little bit on the end. That's bobcat or house cat. All right, this one. That's a hard one. Sechathlix. It has that S with the X sound and a K on the end. Sechathlix. Okay, we don't know what that is, right? It's not a reindeer. Okay. Okay, Sechathlix. Moose. Okay, sign for moose. Okay. What else? I think I've gone through my stuff. Okay. This doesn't have anything to do with my sign language, but here are posters. Tony and Cashola asked me to work with the Lewis and Clark Commission, and Clinton Blackwood came to me about a year ago or 2 years ago and said he was getting a little concerned because there was no participation from the Salish. And so I said, well, they probably don't want to celebrate Lewis and Clark because of what came after. You know, I was not happy, but I told them what they would celebrate, though, would be if they wanted the Indians come down and have a celebration, it would have to be an Indian celebration. You know, and I knew the elders wouldn't go for celebrating Lewis and Clark. But what this powwow is for is we have banded together with the Lewis and Clark Bicentennial Commission, a circle of tribal advisors, Sula and Darby Ranger District, and the Bitterroot Chamber of Commerce to put this powwow on. And what this is for celebrating the diplomacy, the hospitality, and the generosity of the Salish. Okay, in this picture was done by Jesse Henderson. It was like $45,000. It's hanging in, I forget where, it's hanging in Helena. But it shows Chief Three Eagles, who is one of my ancestors, Charlo, the line goes from Tanakh, before Three Eagles, and Three Eagles, then Victor, then Chief Charlo, then Martin, and then my father, Tony. But it shows them here, you know, it's called Offering of the Great Clearing. And so we welcomed there, we took care of them, and traded them horses. It's what they had in the journal, but our elders say no sane Indian would have traded for those horses. You know, we gave them our horses and put them out to pasture. In the journals it says they traded for excellent Salish horses. So what this is going to be is not exactly a reenactment of that meeting, but the whole idea behind it is for visitors to come and be welcomed by the Salish again in the Bitterroot Valley, 200 years later, for everybody, open to the public. And what we're going to be doing there is grand entry will start Friday night at 7 o'clock. It's all free, camping's free. You know, you don't have to pay anything to get in. And there are going to be arts and craft vendors, food vendors, And native guided powwow tours, that's what I do back home. Is we have native guides take people through the powwow, explain the dancing and explain whatever's going on there, you know, and help them so they can participate and become part of the celebration instead of just like somebody watching, standing back watching on the outside. Okay. And so that's what we'll be doing on the first night. And also there'll be viewing of Johnny R. Lee's video, the Lewis and Clark Expedition Meet the Salish and Ponderay Indians. That was funded by Lewis and Clark Grant. On Saturday, we'll start with the grand entry with the snake dance. Okay, a lot of our names were given to a lot of our different things in English have nothing to do about what they really are. Okay, like the snake dance is given that name, has nothing to do with snakes. You know, what the snake dance, it's called that probably because in English, when they danced in, they came in this way, in line, dancing in. Okay, what the snake dance represents is like a victory dance. You know, it's a warrior dance. A long time ago, way before horses, the warriors would come back. If they returned, it was successful. You know, they would come in, they would be tired, starving. You know, they would be pretty much wiped out. They'd be staggered into camp, you know, and the camp would be welcoming. But they would be coming in like this. And so what you see on this is the only time we do it is 4th of July celebrations, the biggest celebration up on the reservation. You have hundreds of dancers coming in for a snake dance on that, and it's very exciting. Okay, I got permission from the elders to do it down here at Sula. You know, so that's going to be something extra special to see. And we'll have I'm not sure if that happened yet. Do you know if they're going to have that veterans ceremony? Okay. We'll have a veterans honoring ceremony right after that grand entry. And then there'll be dancing, contest dancing, and drumming and singing. And then the welcoming ceremony is open to all visitors to participate. And what we do, we have what we call a giveaway dance, and it's a round dance where whoever's having the giveaway is in the center and they give to whoever's dancing. Because remember, the dancing is like a really good thing to be doing. When you go to powwow, you'll hear the announcer will say, everybody get up and dance. You know, get up and dance for those that can't dance, for those that have passed away, and for those who are coming. You know, so dancing is very important to us. So whoever comes down and dances with us, you know, will be honored. And also at that same time, we'll have the Lewis and Clark reenactors come out and be part of that. And then about 5 o'clock, we'll have a buffalo feed. None of this is, you know, you're not getting charged for any of this. And then later on that night, we'll start again at 7, and then we will continue with the dancing and the drumming and have, I think we're having Clint's going to stand up and say some words too. Clint Blackwood, is he called the director or the chairman of the Montana? Anyway, he's the head Lewis and Clark guy for Montana. But so that's going on September 9th and 10th. If you wish, you can come and get one of these posters to remind you if you wanted to go. Are there any questions?
Anyone have any questions for Mary Jane? Oh, yeah, one over here. Hang on, let me bring this over so everyone can hear.
When will that event, it's the 9th and 10th, but it's here in the Bitterroot, but where?
Sula.
Grab a poster.
I don't know, am I hooked onto something here?
Very good presentation.
Any other questions? Oh, eagle. Did we get the eagle?
The eagle. Sorry. Okay.
You were watching.
Milkanoops. Milkanoops, yeah. Okay, easy sign, just that. We have two kinds of eagles, a bald eagle and the golden eagle. Okay, what Johnny told me in the class was the golden eagle is mainly the one that has to do with the Indians more so than the bald eagle. Because the bald eagle is the one you always see like sitting up by himself, you know, all solitary. The golden eagle, you know, if you're watching, you will see him in there with the animals, you know, and there's different stories and pictures, coyote stories of a golden eagle sitting there surrounded by animals, and they're holding a council. You know, they're making decisions and stuff. But any other ones?
Any other questions? All right, well, let's thank Mary Jane for coming and sharing with us.